What's going on, YouTube? Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in here with yet another big guest. Mr. Big Paul from Anabolic Bodybuilding is with us today. So excited to have him on. And before I hand it over to Big Paul, get all of our little YouTube reminders out there. Be sure to like, turn on your notifications, and of course, subscribe, and always comment in the comment sections. All of our guests are always more than happy to help answer your questions. So feel free to talk about future content you'd like us to cover or questions you have, and we'll be happy to get those answered for you. So welcome. Great to do a little recording with you again. Mr. Harris, my co-host, couldn't join us tonight, but we're glad to have you on still.
What's going on, man? Justin, my coach, bailing on me.
Another day in paradise. Yeah, he had the flight change there, but I'm sure, just for those out there, for the viewers out there too, we want to do like an off-season check-in. I thought would be pretty fun, and kind of pull up some of your stuff, and you guys can have some dialogue, because I think it'd be neat for people to see kind of what that progression looks like and what you guys discuss.
Yeah, it's been a weird off-season, man. I really don't weigh any more than I did when I started. I'm 12 weeks into it, I think now. I got really sick in the middle. I had the flu, and then it turned into pneumonia, and I was down for like 2.5, 3 weeks. And I've seen a bunch of my clients have the flu this offseason too. It's been really weird, man. It went through my gym. Everybody's been fucking sick, and I'm just kind of now getting back to normal. But I feel I weighed myself last night. I was 276. That's daytime weight. That's not fasted weight, but I was 280 before I got sick. I dropped like 20 pounds when I got sick. So I don't know, but I feel like I'm leaner. I looked at pictures from this year to last year. I definitely leaner at a similar body weight than I was off season. And Justin told me that might be the case. What would happen this year is that I wouldn't be that much heavier, but I would be harder at the same weight. And that's kind of proven out to be true.
Yeah, I got your proof right here for anybody who thinks that you don't actually weigh that too. So there you go. 276.
It cracks me up, man, how people question my weight all the time. They don't believe what I weigh. It's so weird, man.
Well, I notice like every 10 posts you have like the scale on there. So it's like, yeah, guys, he'll put it up there and show you. But yeah, because I mean, you compete. Oh, go ahead.
I'm like new to the social media game, so I don't know if people are just fucking trolling me or what, but I get all these dudes saying you're lying about how much you weigh. You don't weigh that much.
I recently had a bunch of Krav Maga people. Like, I did some Krav Maga stuff on like some shorts and stuff, and guys were like, that's really easy to do when someone's just allowing you to do it. I'm like, yeah, it's a drill. I literally said this is a drill, like, and put it out there. I wasn't trying to impress you with like me taking on some dude, so it's fun, man. It's like whatever, but
there's so many haters on YouTube and Instagram. I'm blocking people daily now.
Oh yeah, I'm not to that status yet, but I'm still at the amused by it status, but I'm sure that's the hope, is that I can get to that point soon. So
you know what was funny is I went after the Liver King for his cycle and for being a liar. That nobody got mad about that, but when I criticized his stupid diet, everybody freaked out, and I had all kinds of people. I had to block a bunch of people. The diet is what pissed people off.
What? Yeah, and I'm curious too, because I think it's on here, one of these, but what was kind of some of the key feedback you had about about Liver King's diet?
Well, I broke down the macros on it. What was hilarious, and it's funny that a lot of people missed this, but the dude was eating the way he'd get up in the morning, he'd do a fasted workout. He said he was doing a West Side barbell conjugate routine. Okay, fasted. That sounds stupid, but whatever. And then he would do this post-workout meal. And what people missed is like it was whole eggs, yogurt, whey protein powder, dextrose, almond butter. There was ghee in it. And what I realized is that the dude was drinking a fucking big old shake after his workout. And it was just a fat bomb. And he was doing that. What he was doing was drinking 3 shakes a day and 1 solid meal. So that didn't sound very primal to me. And
yeah.
That's what I commented on. Everybody was freaking out, and he had an insane amount of fat in his diet. Something I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere in like 260, 300 grams of fat per day. And then the majority of the carbs that he was getting was from dextrose and maple syrup. terrible on top of that.
Wow.
So it was just, I didn't like, none of it made any sense to me. I'm like, I gotta forget the guy's name, but they said that the dude that does the primal diets, I can't remember his name, wrote his diet for him, but
I know what you're talking about.
God damn it, I can't remember the guy's name, but I can't imagine that the guy wrote that diet. I mean, that just, he would have 2 ounces of meat with the meal, 2 ounces of raw meat with his meals, and then he'd have 1 meal a day where he'd eat a ribeye and a sweet potato, and that was it. The rest of it was shakes, protein shakes.
Well, and anybody who wants to see it out there, Paul K. Barnett on Instagram, so you guys can find him there, and you can see he's got a whole post on there. Is it on your YouTube channel also, Paul? Or?
Yeah, I went through like a complete breakdown on my YouTube channel. I went through all the macros and did all the math. I don't know. I thought it would be fun to go through and look at the macros of the diet. I didn't see anybody else do that, so I thought it would be
something
fun.
like I know we've talked before. Some of those listening to this might not know, but you were, competing, took a break, didn't work out for a long time, competed again, had some great results, which we can get into a little bit. And then now you've been kind of competing as well, looking at, looking to get to the Masters Nationals sometime next year to compete at that level. And you're also coaching. So I think you have an interesting perspective, like going through it as a couple different times as a competitor, and as a coach. But can you tell people just like kind of an overview? I know it's pretty well documented on the internet as far as like your progress and stuff, but just what you done, what got you here, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was a gym bro bodybuilder in the 90s and early 2000s. I don't know, a perma bulker. I love lifting weights. I loved being the typical gym bro bodybuilder. And I started off with the first time that I really kind of got some guidance was I worked with Dante Trudell. He coached me for a couple of years, and I learned a ton from Dante. And I was coached by him before he was Dante. He hadn't even started his protein company. I think I bought like one of the first bags of protein he ever sold.
Was it True Protein back then? Wasn't it called True Protein?
It was True Protein back then.
And now it's True Nutrition, right?
Yeah, True Nutrition. He changed it, but I was one of his first customers, and he was something ridiculous. I think he charged me like $200 or $250 to coach me for the whole year.
Nice.
It was something ridiculous, but I remember Dante would write these just wall of emails explaining things in critical detail, and I'm a detail guy, and I love that stuff. So he kind of got me. I was always like piddling around. I never got that big, and then I got kind of like I guess power lifter big working with Dante. I remember Dante's was power slamming food back then, but I used to do crazy shit like I'd eat 4 double cheeseburgers at McDonald's post workout and do stupid shit like that. And then my 30s hit. I had some injuries, started a business, got hurt. Just a bunch of shit happened. Had a couple kids and just kind of got away from it. They got bored with it, got frustrated with it. I didn't think I was going to take it anywhere. And I got into doing jiu-jitsu for a little bit. Nothing crazy. I'm a very mediocre jiu-jitsu guy, and got divorced in my mid-40s. And that motivated me to get back into the gym to start lifting again, just to get in shape so I could find a date. And I kind of got bitten by the bodybuilding bug again when I got back in the gym. I said, well, fuck it. I'm going to try to compete, and let's see what happens. And first show, it was a mess. Second show, I won. And I had that crazy off season with Justin where I put on 53, 54 pounds of stage weight in 1 year.
Yeah. Was that, let's see, is that this one right here? Is that what this post was showing?
Yeah. Yeah. It was 50. Yeah. It was 54.
Yeah.
I don't know what I actually ended up being 237 on stage. So my weigh-in at the show was 237. So that's what I ended up weighing in, and it was a little bit more on stage. But yeah, it was pretty fucking wild, man. Now it's a bit deceiving. It's not like I was bigger in my 20s and 30s, so I think a lot of that was just reclaimed real estate. So I don't want people to think that I be disingenuous about it, but I don't think I want people to think that I put on that much new tissue in a year, but it was a good bit. You know, I definitely grew.
Yeah, I think it looks like too from some of your client spotlights, like that's kind of been a consistent theme. You kind of mastered the rebound, and it seems like that's kind of been a big thing for some of your guys. Like, sorry, I got it right here. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull this up.
Yeah, I've had good success with the rebound with some people, and some of it's my own method, some of it is stuff I learned from Justin. But I mean, really, I approach and I know Justin does too, but I approach the rebound differently than most coaches do. It seems like they're very timid with the rebound, and they do these slow ass reverse diets, and I feel like you've missed the window of opportunity. That kid you just brought up before, that was this just shows the power of being 18. That was 10 weeks, and he's natty.
Yeah.
On top of it.
That's a crazy,
that's just all diet.
Wow. Yeah, that doesn't look like the same person. Like, looks like, you know what I mean? It's nuts.
Oh, he's a hard worker. That kid works his balls off. But yeah, with the rebound. So usually what I do is we get aggressive with the food, really aggressive with the food. And it's funny because you don't need, if people think you need a ton of anabolics, you actually can use less anabolics. We toss a little bit of insulin in there to help push the food, but it's really just a shit ton of food and being aggressive with the food after the contest or after a cut. Usually if I get somebody that's fat, I'll cut them down first, and then we'll catch the rebound afterwards. If somebody's already lean, then we'll push it.
Yeah. How do you have any kind of markers for that? Because I've always been curious, different philosophies out there. Just curious about seeing your success. If you had someone like, say, when you say fat, is it, north of 20%, 25%? I mean, I'm saying roughly, like visually in pictures, like what we would call 20-25%.
I don't know. If I can't see abs, that's fat.
They're easy enough.
I don't get obsessed with the scale or body fat readings. I mean, I don't know, unless you're going to go get a DEXA scan done. I don't think you can really trust any of the like the in-body or any of that bullshit. I just don't think it's very accurate.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize too, so I'll ask you this, but I'm sure we're going to be around the same time frame, but how long do you usually, if someone who's not competing, like how long do you diet them down before you would try to get like a mini rebound in there? Like what's that time period look like usually?
Usually 16 weeks max.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the max. I don't know. I just feel like after 16 weeks, it's just not productive to diet anymore. It's like once you get the calories so low, there's only so far you can take it. And it's just, I don't know, people just seem like 16 on some people you can push it to 20. If I get somebody that's really fat, what I'll do is do like a 12 to 16 week block, and I'll take a 6 to 8 week diet break, and then we'll do another push.
Got it.
And usually during the diet break, I'll try to push their food back up a little bit, and just kind of maintain. But I try to get away with increasing the food as much as I can, and just holding at a certain weight, and then getting their metabolism back up again, and then we'll do another push.
What do you see is like are you finding most of them are like you, like or close to? I mean, you're definitely an outlier, but like close to that type of motivation when you come in when they're overweight, or because they know what they're getting into with you, or is there a lot of like modification you have to do right out of the start to get people started?
People are all over the place.
Yeah.
It just depends. I get some people that have lifted and competed before, and they understand how to diet. And then there's some people I just have to teach everything. Like they don't even know how to count macros. So I've definitely learned not to assume anything. I had one guy, and I felt bad for him, and he wasn't making any progress. And I started digging into stuff with him, and he just honestly didn't know how to put a diet together. I just give people macros,
okay,
and kind of do a if it fits your macro sort of style of diet to give them flexibility, unless they're on contest prep, and then we get a little more strict with it. But I had to just go through and help him put a diet together.
Well, I remember back, so when I was a trainer, I was doing like a lot of training, a lot of coaching, and I'll never forget this poor young girl. She was probably like mid-20s, pretty girl, took good care of herself, but was probably, I don't know, 70, 80 pounds overweight. And So I started working with her, and the one thing that was just so like mind blowing to me, or like when I had my aha moment, like we first started working, she's losing a little bit of weight, was still slower than I thought. And she was like signing up for marathons, doing everything you would read in the magazines or hear, that you should be doing to drop weight. And just, one of those girls that like hasn't had a date since junior high. Like it was a really, really big self-esteem thing for her. So I really wanted to see her succeed. Anyways, one day I look up and she's got this giant thing of Gatorade in her hand, chugging it on the treadmill, had no clue. The poor girl was running miles, like, because she wasn't doing them outside. It got cold. She came inside, and it's just something she never thought to tell me about. And this wasn't long into our plan. She was working with someone else before that. And she's like, I thought it was healthy. I thought it was good. And I'm like, literally, you're just pounding sugar the entire time you're running. Like that is counteractive to everything we're trying to, all the running you just did is just went out the toilet.
Oh my God, the stuff I see, man. Like I can't tell you how many times, like I'll get people on approved food lists, something similar to what Justin does. And I'll go through, like, if I get people that aren't losing weight, I'll sit down with them and we'll go through item by item exactly what they're eating. And God damn it, every fucking time when somebody's not losing weight, they're eating chicken thighs and not chicken breasts.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've run into that one, or dumping barbecue sauce all over everything, or something stupid like that, like, or not measuring the nut butter. It's there is very slim margin for error when it comes to nut butter.
Right. Right.
When most people think is 1 tablespoon is really 2 or 3.
Right.
So you're talking about you're talking about a couple hundred calories difference.
Oh yeah. No, I remember there's a situation actually Justin told me about that. Again, it's usually like general health, like you're trying to help them, and you just feel so bad because it's just like this, they're finally getting some real help and they're so pumped up. Anyway, short along, one of the ladies he was working with, this is, back years ago, but never told him she thought because olive oil is healthy, she was like dousing everything in olive oil.
Oh man.
And he's just like, I don't understand, and how he is with numbers, and you're the same way, where he's just like, what else can I cut for this? He's like, walk me through it again. And like had her like send pictures and stuff. And it was sure enough, this giant olive oil. And she's like, well, what do you mean it's healthy? He's like, we're not talking about if something's healthy or not. It's all about calories and your energy expenditure. So I think it's really important that, people are like just sharing everything with whoever they're working with so that, everyone's on the same page with their caloric intake.
Yeah, I've been working with my training partner to help him get some weight off, and he's dropped almost 40 pounds, but he got stuck for a while. I was going through it with him, and I was like, dude, are you measuring your nut butter? And he's like, nah, just stick the spoon in the jar. As soon as we started measuring the nut butter, he started losing weight.
Yep. No, especially smaller frame like women, it's like a guy, our size, we're both about 6'3". I mean, I'm in about a little bit shy of 250. You're in the 270s. So it's like amount of fat we can have, like they will have double that without even blinking. I have family members that will do that, and people I've kind of helped too, but they're just like, oh, it's not that much more. I'm like, it literally, I'm twice your size, and you just had what I like more than I have in a sitting, so
the margin of error when you're a 120-pound woman is so small. Right. I feel bad for him. I mean, you really don't. I mean, literally, one tablespoon of almond butter could be the difference between losing weight and not.
Yeah, actually, speaking of that, I just recently, I'm gonna pull it up. I'll have a video out on it soon. But it was really interesting research where it was more for general population, but it's transferable. And what he was looking at was how to build a diet for like general health. And he used the analogy of not doing a percent of calories for proteins, carbs, and fat, but like your protein is an absolute number. Like you have a certain amount you need to maintain your lean tissues, like even general population. And the analogy he used was like, he thinks his research is more on why people deteriorate as they age and why they look so cyclical and weak. He's like, their appetites go down and they adjust their protein portions related to their appetite when really they need to keep that whole throughout the whole thing. So he was basically like a 40-year-old woman eating, let's say, 120 grams of protein. By the time she's like 60, she might be eating like 50 grams. And it was just really, he went through the whole like amino acid profile for someone that size, what they need just to maintain the way they are. And it's really pretty mind blowing. I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it, is like your protein being an absolute source and then building the rest of your diet around it.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I mean I'm sure when you put diets together, it's the same way. The protein is non-negotiable. The wild cards, well, really the first wild card is carbs. It's
Right.
usually the first adjustment, and then kind of the last one is fats. But I mean, at least that's how I do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely, and then kind of, adjusting their bodies from there. But one of the things I did want to ask you about was you you've been training pretty hard for, what would you say, 4 years now? I mean,
Yeah,
I
I've
know
been
you trained
back
all
in the
your
gym
life,
for
right?
about 4.
Yeah.
I started at 16 and was pretty hardcore until 32, and then I've been back in the gym 4 years now. So I don't know, 20 years of training, something like that.
So yeah, this post here caught my eye. So I'm like, I got to ask Paul about this, because Justin he'll always slip this in. I don't know if you ever heard him, but he'll slip in how everyone grows from this certain type of training besides Paul, he'll say. So the the old guy lifting training. But no, I am curious, just for those out there, because all kidding aside, like, he would talk about progressive overload, and then he would always, on Team Troponin, he'd correct himself and say, well, but there is Big Paul. Because I believe like can you share a little bit, like, because you've been relatively, besides getting sick, but like injury free, and obviously on a pretty steady growth rate. And what type of training do you generally prescribe to for yourself?
Well, in fairness, when I was in my 20s, I was a progressive overload guy, and
Right.
like I said, I trained with Dante Trudel for 3-4 years, so I did DC training for a period of time too. I'm just like, I've had so many injuries. I've had multiple surgeries. I've got a torn labrum in my shoulder. Both of my ACLs have been torn. Um, and I had to come up with a way to train that was sustainable. I'm almost 50 years old, and
Right.
what I gravitated towards was really what I run is more of a Renaissance periodization style program. I don't know if you pay attention to Dr. Mike Israetel at all. But I read his book. I think it's called The Principles of Hypertrophy, and it just sort of changed my mind on training in general. Fantastic book, and it really goes behind the science behind it. It really runs counter to everything that bodybuilders have done over the years. But really, his research and their theories is that volume is the primary driver of hypertrophy, not so much progressive overload. And there are other ways to progressive overload. You can progressive overload by adding more volume. You can progressive overload by slowing your reps down and squeezing harder. I mean, there are
Right.
different things that you can do. But so I do a high volume style training. I don't do any compound movements. I don't squat. I don't deadlift. I don't do any bench presses.
Yeah.
And I think that blows people's minds, that I don't do any of that stuff, and I really do not lift that heavy. All my pressing movements, like anything I would consider a compound type movement, like I'll do hammer strength presses, for example, for bench. I keep the rep range in 10 to 12 rep range, and anything that's an isolation movement, it's all 15 to 20 reps. And I really focus on blood flow, squeezing. It's more of a, if I had to compare it to anything, it's more like a Jay Cutler style type of training. But I do high volume, high frequency. So I do push, pull legs, and I train every day, essentially. And I don't do
Yeah.
anything to failure. That's another thing that I do that just kind of blows people's brains wide open. They're like, I see Justin and David and Danny talk, David blows me away with some of the weights he puts up. It's
Oh yeah.
insane. I lift like half what he does, maybe less than half. I don't know, but I just really focus on form, getting a good squeeze, getting a pump, and I guess heavy is relative. I've been very strong in the past. I used to incline 405, so it's not like I've been weak at
Right.
I've been strong before, but this is how I train now.
Yeah. No, I was just looking at a thing here, just for those who don't know who we're talking about here. I won't put Danny up there because I'll get embarrassed, because she can like deadlift what I can do for a rep or two. She can do like for 10. What are these 140s David's lifting here?
150s, I think.
145 for 8, 150 should
Oh,
be with 10.
145.
Oh yeah. So yeah, only 145, so pretty good weight there he's moving. I think, what is this for? Is this okay? That's only 405, so that's not but nonetheless, he's still moving.
His deadlifts are crazy, and his hack squat too. His hack squat's insane.
Yeah, no, it's that's the thing that's what I want to ask you about, because like your legs grew quite a bit. And it's one thing I struggle with because I'm still that older school mindset, even though I've looked into some research too, like as far as like hypertrophy and the muscle response, more because I'm biased to that, just trying to like, I just injured my lower back like 2 years ago. And I used to love, like I competed in powerlifting in my early 20s, and that 150 for 10 again. So yeah, that's fun. So anyways, I was just curious, like, because you're saying push pull legs, so you do that you do everything twice a week essentially in that routine.
Yeah, but I break it up. So like my leg workouts, I have a leg A and a leg B workout. I kind of learned that from Dante. That's the way he used to break things out. So my first leg workout will be more of a quad dominant workout.
Yep.
And my second workout will be adductors, hamstrings, glutes focused. Now there's still a little bit of glute and hamstring work in the other workout. It's just that I do put more volume towards those body parts. So for example, on the second workout, I'll do hamstrings first and my glute work first, and then I'll hit. So I'll do adductors on the second day. So I'll do like a wide stand. And also I noticed I gave up anything. One of the things, anything that loads my back. One of the things that if you get into the Dr. Mike Israetel's research and the stuff that he talks about fatigue to stimulus ratio. So if you think about it, and I never really considered this, and it's something I that's applied in, you've done martial arts. So in jiu-jitsu, like one of the big things they talk about in jiu-jitsu is energy management and saving, wearing an opponent out or just having enough gas in the tank to be able to keep going. And I thought about it when it comes to lifting. If your first set is squats and you go in and you blow yourself out on a set of, like I used to be able to do 495 for like with 10 reps.
Mm-hmm.
If I blow myself out with 495 for 10 reps, how effective is the rest of my workout going to be? Am I, so I'm getting one really stimulating set in, and then the rest of my workout, I'm gassed and I'm not really doing anything. So, whereas if I leave some reps in the tank and maybe do some stuff where my back is braced and I don't have so much systemic fatigue from having to brace with my back and support everything with my back, if I just focus on the quads themselves, like do hack squats or leg presses or leg extensions or lunges or something like that, that doesn't have the same fatigue cost that squats do, and I can blow out more sets that way. And I think it's paid off. I think I've gotten more growth by doing that.
Yeah, usually your typical 3 set, or are you going up to 5, or like what's that kind of range that you look like for you?
I do it by volume per week. So I measure my volume and I do like a graduated volume program where I'll do 6-week blocks where and you'll see it in the Renaissance periodization programs where they'll gradually push the volume up over a 6-week block. So you have your, with the Renaissance programs, you'll have a maximum recoverable volume and a minimum effective volume. So you sort of work your way up from a minimum effective volume to a maximum recoverable volume. So for me, I found that somewhere like 10 sets per week per body part is sort of the minimum to like maintain. And then a maximum of somewhere between 20, depending on the body part, somewhere between 20 to 25 sets per week per body part working sets. Okay. So if we're talking about doing 2 workouts per week, if I'm at peak volume, I'm doing something like 10 to 12 sets per body part per session. So it works out to be 20 to 24.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I have seen that book around before. I don't have that in my collection.
I can't recommend it enough. It really changed my whole thought process on training, because I was just trying to find a way that traditional progressive overload, hardcore, let's go balls to the wall to failure type training. Just, when you get old, you get to my age, your joints and connective tissue can't handle it. And I compare it to playing a backyard football game. You can get away with that shit when you're in your 20s,
right?
But I don't think you can train like that when you're 48 years old and sustain it. I just don't. Yeah. And you look at the bodybuilders that have lasted. like a guy like Kamal or Dexter Jackson or something, they all train like that. I don't go to failure either. I always stop a rep or two short of failure.
Yeah, I remember that's very like the split itself is similar. I've done especially being a taller guy, like I've always done like a glute hamstring focus and then like a quad dominant day. My quads just respond. It's more genetic because like when I powerlifted, I put up some decent numbers, but they were all with just, on the front of my on the front of my toes, like pressing through the floor. Like it was mainly quads moving the weight. So I want to develop that for functionality, but also just look and whatnot. But that seemed to help a lot. But no, I appreciate you breaking that down because I think that'll help a lot of people out there to wrap their mind around like how to look at the full picture. You'll have some pretty smart people that'll still just attack each workout as an individual segment versus looking at it in blocks like you're talking about, and how to progressively increase that. So that I think that's pretty insightful. Now, is that
And hey,
something you do for your, go ahead.
yeah, and that, I have my clients doing that style of training too, and they seem to respond it well to it. And another thing to factor in there, and something that people don't consider, and I've talked about this with Justin, and I don't know. I think the light switch went on with him, and is something that people don't consider. And I think high volume and training like this pairs really well with the high carbohydrate diet,
Right.
and pairs really well with insulin. Just to be frank about it. It matches up really well versus like with a HIIT style training, which I don't think works as effectively with the high carbs and the high. And also, I think it keeps me leaner.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't do any cardio all season, but my workouts are like cardio. I mean, so when I'm at peak volume, it takes me 2 hours to get through a workout.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, you got to put some thought into it and adjust, from what someone's body can do. But I definitely see it more and more. I know there's another researcher out there, Dr. Andy Gaplin is his name. I'm not sure if you've
Mm-hmm.
seen any of his
Yeah.
content, but he had some pretty interesting hypertrophy stuff. And I think it was, again, I'd have to link it or steal the actual content without trying to hack it too much. I'm going off of memory, but I think it was 8 to 30 reps they shown, was like a growth range at a certain percent intensity. Like you're going to grow from that. But I think it's also interesting when you were talking about back in the training world or like post rehab world, we would call it tempo. And a lot of people don't think to change that, where it's, your eccentric, your isometric, and concentric. So if you're, lowering the bar speed, that pause, how long you hold it for, then how fast or what's your intention to move the bar at a certain speed. And I used to do a lot of that work with more general population, but I've worked that into my programming where, I might be using half the weight one day, or I might be using a hell of a lot more, or even looks like too much weight, but I'm doing more my my neuro drive, like is my intention to move the bar at that speed is more important for that phase of training versus the actual speed of moving the bar. But I think tempo is a really big one. A lot of people underestimate the power of that.
Yeah, this is more, I guess, what I would say is more of a tempo style workout. I definitely, there is definitely tempo to it, like very controlled negatives, explosive on the positive. And I try to get full range of motion. That's another thing too. I think a lot of guys don't get full range of motion. And the weight's really relative at the end of the day. So and it's not to say that I don't try to progress weights. And this is what I tell my clients. I still am progressing weights, but within the parameters of the higher volume and keeping good form. So, if I can rip out 5 sets of, I'm just using this as an example. If I can rip out 5 sets of 225 on bench for 10 reps and it's that 5th set is easy, then the next workout I'll go up to 235 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So you're still progressing weights, but whereas like if you were doing like my old style of training, like sort of the DC style of training was a couple warm up sets and then just one balls out set, I might work up to 405 on the bench and have that one balls out set. So, you're still, when you look at the actual load that you're placing on the muscle, it's probably more with the lower weight, the stimulus that you're providing. So I don't know. And I think sometimes people get confused whether they're powerlifters or whether they're bodybuilders. So
Right.
there's really only a few variables you can control in lifting, so you have the load, you have your rep tempo, range of motion, volume, so those are really the main variables that you can control. So I don't know. I just have found this works a lot better for me, and it seems to be working with my clients. I notice people have a fuller look paired with the carbohydrates and a little bit of insulin.
Yeah, I think it's important, as you mentioned, like for people to really clearly identify like what their goals are from their training. We did an episode with John Heck, who's the strength coach for
Yeah. I'm
UNC.
familiar with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's obviously training for strongman, but with his athletes, he talked about back when I was in high school and early college, like all the athletes were all about the Olympic lifts, and everyone had to power clean and blah blah blah. If you're going to play, D1 football and this and that, and he was saying how like that's completely, out of their weight room because of how complex the movement is and how much time they would just waste trying to teach technique to do that. He's like, it's not necessarily a bad movement. There's just so many other ways to break that movement down into like sub exercises or lifts, if you will. That's more transferable, so they can get more volume and get more work in. But if it was like someone like an Olympic lifter, like it's they would argue that till they're blue in the face and like, no, we got to do this. So similar to bodybuilding, right? Like your goal is hypertrophy, you're trying to grow the muscle. So even if a guy's next to you on stage but he can bench more than you, like who cares? That's not what you're being judged on that day. So
yeah, I had one of my clients who was that was telling me, he's like, I could, in his last contest prep, he looked like shit. I saw his pictures, and he was telling me he could still bench 405 going into peak week. And I'm like, did they ask you how much you benched when you got on stage? I'm like, nobody gives a fuck, man. It's what you look like.
Right.
So I mean, it's training specificity. You wouldn't, if you trained like a soccer player to go play football, you wouldn't be very good at football. So I don't know. And I see it in the gym a lot of times. I see guys that say they're bodybuilders, but they're not sure if they're a power lifter or if they're doing CrossFit or if they're doing bodybuilding. So I don't know. And I do think you need to build a base of strength. I like really young lifters, like guys that are brand new. I probably do have them more on a progressive overload style program. I think once you have that base of strength, and then there's also just another thing to think too, is like somebody like that's the size of a pro bodybuilder, you get so fucking strong that going to failure on 225 on the bench is way different than going to failure on 405 on the bench. The energy expense and then the risk of injury goes way up.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, those are other variables you got to control for and think about too. So, I mean, it's gets to the point where it's dangerous. And if you get hurt, you can't train. If you can't train, you're not going to grow.
Right. No, it's interesting. You mentioned like the younger guys too, because it's, I know like I've worked with some swimmers recently, just some of the strength conditioning kind of volunteer work I did. And they all, because in my town, it's a powerhouse football town. So they all wanted to train like the football players. And it's just like, or like, what the perceived way bodybuilders train, like a lot of pressing and things like that. And it's like, guys, like you are using such different muscles and certain ones are so overdeveloped that like we have to actually do the opposite. We had to do like more, the weak non-dominant muscles from 10 years of swimming. Like we had to strengthen those to support their strong muscles and then still layer that into their program so that they were seeing that, that term like absolute strength is transferable in sports, but how do we maximize it? If your synergistic or your antagonist muscles, are just, so tight because they're weak, well, then you're so restricted on those prime movers. So it just helps to kind of balance the two out. So,
it's funny,
interesting stuff.
Just observing how people train in the gym. When I look at groups, the bodybuilders are the ones that train most like idiots. It's funny because like you see power lifters, they have a very specific style of training. We have some world-class powerlifters in my gym. I mean, they're programmed out. They know what their training block is looking like. They know what percentage of their lifts are doing this week. They have, it is very specific for their goal at the meet. And the same thing with the Olympic guys. You watch the Olympic guys, they have very specific training for their sport. And then bodybuilders are just doing whatever the fuck.
Right.
Like it's just like some of them are training like powerlifters, some of them are doing Olympic lifts. I mean, some of them are training like CrossFit. They're just all over the fucking place.
Yeah, got to have the plan. Actually, no, I'm looking forward to. I know we were talking before we started recording here, but yeah, I know Justin and I and a couple of us. I know uh, John Rivas is not too far from you, so it'll be nice at some point here to make our rounds and try to get out to your gym with you. That'd be really cool. So it'd be great to. I don't know how
Yeah, I
much
have a
Justin will lift with us, but it'll be good to get in the mix.
You'll be disappointed when you see me lift. I
Oh,
have
good.
I have a really cool gym though. It's the gym where I'm at here in the DC area. It's there's tons of pro bodybuilders and pro powerlifters. A guy that works out here occasionally just set the world record on a raw deadlift.
Oh,
Deadlift at like
nice.
1,080, something like
Wow.
that. He's just a kid too. He's like 24.
Wow. Well, that's
And
why we bring John Rivas with us, because Justin and I are not we're not doing anything impressive anymore. So bring Danny or John, and we'll be
I mean,
fine.
Danny
But
probably lifts more than me.
oh yeah, oh yeah. No, she was at Elite FTS, and I saw a clip, and you could just see Justin was doing warm up sets with her. Then he all of a sudden sits down the rest of it, and I'm like, yeah, he's like, no, I think I'm good, and I'm like, yeah, she's repping 405 on deadlifts, and I'm like, it's pretty solid, man. But um, no, I know we're getting closer to time here, but one thing I did want to ask you about, because I talked to David, Danny, Justin, and John, and we all busted your chops without you knowing about your cheat meals. So we said they're not dirty enough. So no, I am curious. So what is your approach with your clients for cheat meals? I know yours are definitely on the cleaner side of a cheat generally, from what I've seen on Instagram from you. But what do you usually do with your clients? Is it related to where their starting point is, or what are your parameters? Like, how do you approach that?
Well, my cheat meals haven't been too clean lately.
Okay, all right, that makes us feel better. That makes us all feel better.
Usually like I'll just like do some hamburger helper with some fattier hamburger in it or something like that. I'm so lazy. Lately I've been getting double whoppers. That's been my go-to. I don't get the fries though. I just get a plain double whopper. So I guess it's not that bad, right? I
Well,
don't know.
now it's out there on the internet now, man. Everyone's be like, oh,
I don't know.
so
I've been on a double whopper kick lately, man. That's been my cheat meal. With my clients, I program in a cheat meal, and I just tell them don't go ape shit with it. There's
right,
a dirty cheat, and then there's a cleanish cheat, like something like I tell them to stay away from shit like pizza and desserts, and like if you go out and hammer a whole pizza and eat a dozen donuts, that's not productive.
right.
Having a steak and a potato, or having a hamburger and French fries, or some sushi or something like that is what I would consider a productive cheat. So something with a base of meat in it with some carbohydrates, maybe a little extra fat. I mean, that's kind of what I tell people to do for cheat meals. That's typically what I do. I mean, my go-to last year was Texas Roadhouse. I have it right next to
Yeah,
my house. I would just go there and get a steak and a potato.
there you go. Yeah, no,
Um,
it's something that there was a little bit early on, and I know when I prepped was a little bit like the taste bud, but then it just turned into, well, I'm trying to fill out. So like, what is the thing that I could eat the most of, So I just try to keep very low fat on my cheat meal, but just this like more higher carbohydrate, or like a 50-50 as far as like a sugary or carb, and just try to like fill out. Cause I knew the next week I was just, as I progressed, like I knew I'm going to get blown out. Like I'm going to be flat as hell come, Wednesday or Thursday. And my cheat and my leg day was on Saturdays, was my high day usually. So yeah,
I'll
I tweaked it.
I'll be honest, Justin is a goddamn genius, because at the end of the high day, I'm not even that hungry, man. I don't, like half the time I don't even want the fucking cheat meal. I'm
Yep.
so full.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
after hammering down 1,000 grams of carbs, the last thing I want to do is go eat more.
Well, what does your current rotation look like right now? Because you're in the off season. You said you're pretty lean. You're in 270s. Like what does the week look like for you now?
I think he's got me on 1,000 grams of carbs on my high day right now. 600 on my medium, and 360 on my low day for carbs, and we're doing 3 high days a week right now.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So you're still pushing. Yeah.
yeah,
And how
I've been
long's
having
that
trouble.
looking?
I've been having trouble gaining weight. I don't know what the deal is. It just doesn't want to come on. I've been stuck. So I
And
don't know.
do you know what do you have anything in mind as far as how much longer the off season is going to be for you, and when you start kind of working towards prep?
Well, I was going to do Masters Nationals in July, but I don't know that I'm going to do it now, because my daughter made this travel volleyball team, and I'm going to be fucking traveling like every weekend
Okay.
from January until July. So I don't know how feasible it is to do contest prep when I'm on the road all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So volleyball comes first. I may do what is it, the NPC Nationals that just happened last week. I think that's right, isn't it? Nationals. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't keep all these shows straight.
Is it
but
North Americans maybe, or is that?
maybe it is North Americans, but the guys at my gym produce shows, and I think they produce that one. So
Okay.
I may do, and I've never done a late show, so I may do that. I'm going to do a national show next, whatever happens.
Yeah. And you were what, like low 230s, 235, 233, something like that, or
I
mid
was
230s?
237 on stage
Oh,
last year.
I stand corrected. High 230s. So yeah, you're is that kind of the goal? Probably cracking into the 250s this time around?
Yeah, Justin wanted me to get closer to 250 to be, and probably to be on a national stage. Even in the master's class, that's probably where I need to be. I would imagine because I'm just a hair under 6'2".
Yeah. Good deal.
I would imagine that's where I need to be. Some of the masters guys are pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, it's big. It's big, but yeah, no, I mean, you're knocking on the door of that. So you're, like you said, you're pretty lean. You're in the, 270s, like upper 270s. So it's
health withstanding. We'll see, as long as my health holds up.
Yeah. Well, as we kind of wind down here, wanted to just, so one of the things we try to capture in any of our episodes is just any, quick tips for people that are out there. So wondering, like the first one, what is something maybe you would say to a client or someone who's just trying to get started, trying to get motivated? If you think back to like when you first started going back to the gym again, maybe what older guy or girl who's just trying to make another run at it a little later in life, like what would be some of your advice there?
I mean, the biggest thing I tell young guys, and it seems to be like when they transform, is to learn how to eat. I mean, that more than even the lifting, like the diet to me seems to be the most important part. Everybody gets hung up on PEDs. Everybody gets hung up on training, and none of it works if you don't have the diet buttoned up. But I would say focusing on learning how to eat like a bodybuilder is the single biggest thing. The kid I showed you earlier, or the one that you were, Jason, that's the only thing we changed was his diet.
Yeah.
That's it. And he's natural.
Yeah.
And that's got him eating like a bodybuilder, and he's 18 years old, and that's what happened. So that's the biggest thing I can say for a young person: learn how to eat. When it comes to the lifting, I focus on getting your form buttoned up. I see so many people that lift like assholes. I know Justin's not big on form. I can tell from the way he lifts. It's pretty ugly.
Trust me, man. I used to get pissed because like he had these big round shoulders, and being a taller guy, like I always wanted to build up my rear delts and the roundness, and he would just like do this. And I'm like, what? No, like what are you doing?
There's some people that get big despite of it, man. I mean, if you get the diet button up, honestly, I don't know, the training. There is some importance to training. I'd say the big reason why I say you get your form tight is because if you want to last,
right,
you can get away with stuff. The guys that lift with shit form always end up getting hurt later down the road, and it's just not sustainable once you get past a certain point. You can't lift like that in your 50s.
Well, not to mention, like for me, like when I was squatting, I mentioned my lower back before. It really hindered my like either my leg growth or my back growth, because of my on my leg day, if I was using too much back, then it was so blown out by the time I tried to do some back thickness type movements, I just couldn't recruit it. It was just fried, so it's just, to your point, like good form technique. And some of that starts with mobility. Like, what are you doing the right warm-ups? Are you assessing, which muscles are more dominant than others to kind of loosen them up and things like that. But what about when a client gets stuck? If they're not progressing, or they cheated, a little too much, or whatever the case is, they're kind of in that self-shaming mindset. How are you the type of coach to pull them out of it, or is it just kind of, how do you approach that? If that
it's funny, I just did a video I posted on Monday on the bodybuilding mindset, how to the proper mindset. You just got to get back in the saddle. Right. This is what I tell people: you got to stay medium and not get too high, not get too low. Don't get too worked up about shit. Everybody fucks up.
Right.
Just get back in the saddle and keep going. I think a lot of people get that fuck it mentality where if
Right.
they mess up, they're just like, I'm off the wagon now. Let's just eat a whole fucking thing of donuts and pizza and just fuck it. I'm not doing the diet anymore. Just if you fuck up a meal, just get back on track on the next meal. I mean, it's really just that simple. Same thing. If you miss a workout, just go to the gym tomorrow.
Yep, go to the next day. But it's a great advice because, like, it doesn't mean Friday night you screwed up, so then all of a sudden I'll do it again Monday. Like, this isn't a 3-day just slide here. Like, it's one reload, get back at it. So
I get it. I see it all the time. I have people that have the off fucking mentality. I have a guy like, yeah, I screwed up Thursday and then I was off the wagon all weekend. I'm like, dude, come on, man, you can't do that.
I know it's frustrating. Well, I don't know about you, but as far as me, when I was coaching, I would just like copy and paste what they were supposed to do the last 2 weeks. Because I'm like, I don't know what to have you do because I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. I can't. If you don't comply with the diet, I can't make any changes. So
right.
you're the more accurate you are with your measurement and with the diet, the more food you get to eat. Otherwise, right. I'm not gonna give you more food.
Right. Yeah, I know it's interesting, but. Well, good stuff. Anything else kind of on the horizon? Any fun content out there you have it planned? I know a lot of people really follow you and look for. You always have really engaging stuff. Anything kind of on the horizon for you that you're looking to cover or excited about? Or
I'll be honest, man, I just pull it out of my ass week to week.
Well, it's working, right?
I don't know. Whatever. I just try to be me, and people seem to like me for some reason. I do my. One thing I think that it surprises me how people find this interesting, but I try to keep at least every other week I'll post a off-season vlog up where I go through my diet, my training, my PEDs, my supplements, all that stuff. I put that up usually on Saturdays. I'll put it up on my channel, and people find that interesting for whatever reason. I think it's pretty boring, but I think people like to see some insight on how the process works. So that seems to keep people interested. And then usually during the week, I'll put something topical up, whatever's going on in the bodybuilding world. And then I try to do something informational usually every week. It's sort of my rotation, like either something about a chemical compound or training or diet. So that's cool. Sort of my rotation.
Well, selfishly, I want you to crack open that book now, so I can, you can save me a few pages of reading, and I can just listen to you talk about it. So,
Dr. Mike, he did an entire dissertation on the whole fucking book on his YouTube channel. He's got a playlist where he goes through each chapter, chapter by chapter. It's so good. He's if you don't follow him, follow Dr. Mike Israel. He's the best.
No, I'll definitely be doing that. But
and he's funny.
I was gonna ask you. This is I know this is the 1D channel here, so we try not to plug our stuff. But how is some of the new? Did you try recently the WTF? How's that working out for you?
Well, that's what I'm buzzing on right now, man. That's why I'm talking so much. I'll be honest with you. I usually don't use pre-workouts. I'm not a big pre-work because I work out late.
Yeah,
and I can't go to sleep. But actually the stem part of it it's not too overstimulating, but I got really, really good pumps out of it the other night when I used it. Whatever you guys put in it for the pump agents are really good.
Yeah, I think what I felt, and it could be a combination. The citrulline and the sodium. I seem to feel that a little bit more because before I was with these products, I would just use a little bit different, but I'm with you. Like, I don't like stim, but and who knows, maybe we make a non-stim in the future, but that L-theanine in there, I love L-theanine. I use it for sleep, but that seems to really help me at least stay more focused and more even. I don't get that jittery and kind of
yeah, I didn't get jittery. Yeah, I think focus would be a good description. And of course I use the Intra. I've been using that for a while, and then Justin told me I wiped him out with the QRF. I've been telling everybody about QRF. I'm sorry about that, but
yeah, no, we got another batch in product and in process, so it'll be about a month out.
No joke, man. It's insane. I came out of contest prep after running halo testing, and my my liver or my ALT and AST were both in the low 30s.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, you kind of posted about it, and we've been seeing some different people comment and tag us on some of the results and stuff. So it's all good. But I did want to pull this up really quick before we let you go here. So I know you're been super busy with coaching, so you might hate me for this, but Paul does have a pretty, just for those of you out there, not only is his YouTube channel awesome, his Instagram's great. Definitely be sure to follow him. But this has been growing since I've known you. So he's got, obviously you can see some of his transformation here, and that's not Photoshop. That is Big Paul.
And that's not even this year. That's last year. I was bigger this year.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're gonna have to update the images soon. But you can kind of go through and check out all his information here, and then a lot of really great content. So, and you have a membership now, right? Is that what you have set up, or is that in the works?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
If I ever get time to work on it, but yeah, I'm going to put some pre-canned programs together, like a bulk program and a cutting program, just to kind of, for people who don't want to do coaching. But I do coaching and consultation calls, so if people want to just kind of have me go through their diet and protocol and training, like if they don't want to do a full coaching thing, they can do that. Yeah. And I have my training. Anybody that's interested in my training program, I have it on the website for free. You can download it. It's under the free stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Was that,
and also,
is that under the coaching section or?
No, it was just where you were. Go back. And it's there. If you go slide down, free stuff.
There you go. Free stuff. I might have to hit this up after. Oh, cool. That's awesome. I didn't know that was on there. So you got some ebooks and stuff, and good deal.
Yeah, I put a PED selection chart, so you know what each one of them kind of at a high level, what they do, what the risk ratio is on them. And I have I went through the DC training, and I kind of outlined my experience with DC training for people that are interested in DC training.
Nice.
I do have a video coming up with an interview with a guy that the Dusty Hanshaw's training partner, Tommy. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but about DC trainings. People seem to love DC training, so that'll be up soon.
Oh, cool. We're definitely gonna have to check that out. We'll definitely post it on some of our platforms as well. So for all you out there, all the listeners out there are looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've got some DC training videos up on my website too. I did it, 4 or 5 years.
Right. Good stuff. Well, as always, Big Paul, thank you so much, sir, for joining the channel today. Like I said, we'll my bum co-host Justin Harris stood us up, so we'll reel him in. Maybe we'll definitely bring you back.
Anytime you guys want me on,
a couple months or so, we'll kind of see how things are going. But for all you out there, just that friendly reminder, all that fun YouTube stuff, subscribe, notifications, and comments. And thanks again for listening in. We'll see you.
All right, take care.